Ben, when did you make the corner change? When did you make the transition from I understand myself, I know myself, I'm good in my skin, but fuck off, to anybody else who thinks a little differently? Because you made a transition.
Third grade, fourth grade.
Yeah, I don't think I ever made an aggressive transition. I've kind of been in like almost like a Jungian perspective of it, from like, if you want to break it down even simpler than yourself, Matt, before that happens. Somewhere in the field of a Jungian perspective of conflict resolution, it left in the wake of that, there was a quote, and I'm not entirely sure where it came from, but I believe something to the tune of conflict is the beginning of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's weird to people, especially when you consider the fact that we're operating under the pretense of consciousness through biological, facility that is conflict averse.
Right. But still, I want to nail you down on this, because there was a point, at least from what you told me how you used to be previously, where you took other people's thoughts and emotions into consideration less regarding what your actions were. And then now recently, you're a much more empathetic and compassionate guy overall. Is that just wisdom kind of putting its foot in the door?
I think that's the case with everybody that gets old enough, and I don't think it's anything.
That's well said.
I don't think that it's anything that's indicative of, unfortunately and embarrassingly enough, it's not indicative of a pursuit of betterment. I think it's indicative of,
for you personally,
experience.
just not
Personally, right? Because the reality is I'll still sit square in front of somebody who needs affirmation or needs whatever, and if I feel like it compromises my integrity, I'll tell them to go fuck themselves, whatever.
Right.
So I don't know that that's changed entirely, but I do find myself acting in service of others more so than in service of myself.
Yeah, but a couple of conversations you've had previously, such as like over bar conversations and stuff like that, where you've raised the consciousness level of the individual on the other side of the table, where you've taken that from, it might have been previously go fuck yourself, to now you bring it up to their attention to say,
right,
I am not going to play into your
conflict.
Need for
conflict is the source of consciousness. It's the beginning of consciousness.
Okay.
And I really like the operational analysis of this from an objective standpoint. It has to be, if you're looking at betterment, because conflict is an opportunity. And the way conflict resolution specialists tend to try and sway groups or train other specialists in the field, if they adopt the Jungian philosophy of this, is they get people to try to frame conflict, the concept of it, into just a small set of words.
Right.
And almost across the board, they seem to be what most would perceive as negative words.
Right.
Are you talking about like I statements?
I'm talking about, like, if I asked both of you guys to describe conflict in 4 words, then
Struggle of self.
Then all right, so that's a negative sound.
Well,
It's a negative sound. It's not a negative. It's not a negative thought. It's not negative to me, but that was
struggle.
Struggle is perceivably negative, right?
Sure.
As opposed to opportunity.
Yeah, but the second you realize that with struggle comes growth, and growth doesn't
it's an opportunity.
exist in comfort.
Right.
Yeah.
It's semantics, but it's illuminating.
Save it for the semantics, don't maybe bite.
Yeah, so it's illuminating because where people might perceive the things that are like borderline empirically are things like challenge. Challenge to an aggressively dominant or domineering personality in a room is an opportunity for growth. Challenge to somebody who's subservient is probably pretty stressful. So
yeah,
it's not a matter to sit around and debate. It's a matter of illuminating internal dispositions and preconceived notions of what things are. And then you get people that identify these things in those set of words, and then you combine them and tell them both to come up with the same number. Like, so if you and you had 4 words each, then you guys get together and come up with the best 4 until it gets narrowed down so much that a large group has a series of 4 words and see if it's empirically negative or positive or those borderline aspects. Mm-hmm. And you start to realize that if you reframe the perspective of these things, then you start to realize that those are the only ways conflict is the only feedback loop where you're going to start to be self-reflective and understand that things can either be an opportunity for growth and progress and change, which is not scary, or they're debilitating and paralyzing and cause a complete disability to be an interactive human, especially with yourself.